Modern feminism, aka let's destroy all men. Equality, supremacy. Nods, yes. If you were born a male, you should die. That's what they say. Clearly. Men. Okay. Let's do it. I'm ready.
1 second, feminism is demonizing men for objectifying women, and in the next, it's encouraging girls to sell their body on OnlyFans so that...
Thank you! Thank you! Does anybody else think that's a little bit weird?
And can objectify them. I mean, which is it? Are you sexually empowered or are you a victim of oppression? I used to consider myself a feminist until I realized that women were using it as a means to justify going out like this and then complaining about being called hot.
You know what we should do? Is for every woman that goes out with nice, massive leggings, they should have men go out in sweatpants to, like, accentuate their pee-pee line. What'd she say?
Shorty, have you seen your own ass? I swear to God, women are the only ones that can spend 2 hours doing their makeup and picking out an outfit and then still say they don't want to be judged on their appearance. Girl, you literally pulled up your leggings to your third rib and gave yourself the ultimate wedgie. We know.
Thank you. Another woman says this. Thank you. By the way, she's lesbian, so she knows this is really attractive. Like, what are you supposed to do? She likes it too, Chad. Like, I like it, but I wouldn't pork a woman. I'm just saying, I can appreciate the female form. She'd pork them.
You didn't dress like this for you. When you look at the actual definition of feminism, all it is supporting women having access to equal rights. I'm not
That's awesome. Thumbs up.
gonna sit here and call myself an anti-feminist as someone who agrees with the core definition of feminism.
Yeah.
The problem is that the word has evolved to mean something very different. It's not just about women's rights anymore. There are other ideological strings attached. A major concept of modern feminism has been encouraging sexual liberation. This was started partly due to the double standard around sexuality for men and women. When a man frequently engages in casual sex, he's considered a stud, but when a girl does it, she's considered a slut. Sexual promiscuity leads to less satisfaction in relationships for both genders.
Yes, because when you attach and start going off with other people, it is a proven thing that your attachment to the next person is lessened. It's an actual fact. Look it up. Like, psychologically speaking, if you have a lot of partners and then you finally marry someone, statistically speaking, you have less of an attachment than someone who has had 3 or 5 or whatever partners as opposed to your 20 or whatever.
Because it's more socially acceptable for a guy to have casual sex doesn't mean women should be trying to match that expectation by normalizing it. 2 wrongs don't make a right, and promoting a destructive behavior under the marketable guise of sexual liberation is abhorrent. It's so...
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think every time you have sex with someone, you diminish your ability to bond with somebody else. And this is especially true for women. No matter how much you cope and deny it, if you have sex with 100 men and then you decide to settle down, your ability to be content and satisfied and not paranoid in your relationship is extremely diminished. Proven statistical fact. Can't argue with it. Sorry. Write me a river.
Interesting how women constantly complain about how shallow and objectifying their relationships with men are, but then promote hookup culture, which directly encourages this exact transactional process. If feminism actually cared about women as much as it claims to, the movement would be encouraging them to be more selective about their sexual partners. It would be educating them about the negative effects of casual sex, since we know
science, bitch!
that it leads to decreased relationship satisfaction, loneliness, and depression. And look, I know people are going to take this as me trying to tell women how to live. That's not what I'm doing at all. You have all the freedom in the world to live exactly how you please. However, where I do have an issue is when a cultural movement is built on a foundation of lies. If you're gonna have an entire movement, an entire ideology who claims its very goal is to benefit women, then encourage behavior that actually benefits women.
Exactly. Exactly, chat. Thank you. Because the ideology of hookup culture in college and, like, outside of it, I guess, like, but it's very strong in college. And, oh my god, slay girl and all that nonsense, it doesn't benefit women. It benefits OnlyFans. It is the most insanely ironic thing that the entire culture war around women's rights and women's movement and women's empowerment has devolved to sell your sex appeal for money and sex work is real work. And let's not forget that it doesn't actually work, because OnlyFans is not a career path for 99.99%. We watched an entire video about it literally yesterday about how they don't make enough money. It's deceptive. It's destructive. Where you always are going to, like almost always are going to make less than minimum wage while simultaneously spreading your nudes on the internet forever. Streaming is also in the same category because it is not a successful, like you shouldn't go into it expecting massive success instantly.
At one point, this movement had genuinely pure intentions. It's the reason I have a right to vote and work and be educated. Feminism changed our lives as women for the better. So I'm sorry, but I can't help but feel like now it's doing the complete opposite. It's a common feminist position to be anti-tradwife. They insist that tradwives have some sort of Stockholm syndrome where they've fallen in love with their own oppression, claiming that it perpetuates traditional gender roles which have held women back. But I thought...
Yeah, women hate trad wives until they go to work in corporate America for a few years and get their soul sucked out of their bodies. Yep, many such cases. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks working a 9 to 5, being treated like shit like everybody else.
What actual feminism was supposed to be about was supporting women's freedom of choice. That means supporting them if they choose to climb the corporate ladder and supporting them if they choose to be a housewife.
That's right!
I thought the whole point of feminism was to respect a woman's freedom of choice, even if it's not the choice we would personally
I'm allowed to be a VTuber thanks to feminism. Clappies.
make. It was to recognize that there's not a one-size-fits-all lifestyle for women and that they should be able to prioritize what's important to them. Feminism will argue against this by saying that choices don't exist in a vacuum and society impacts your ability to make autonomous decisions, but you can make that exact same argument on the other side too. I could sit here and tell you that your decision to be a feminist is because social media has brainwashed you into believing that women are oppressed. So your choice to be a feminist isn't a real choice at all, but instead a reaction to your cultural environment.
True.
You can run in circles forever trying to
Go to any other country that doesn't have Western values and see what they say. Yeah, see how that'll work out. They'll probably call you silly.
make this argument against either side.
Not saying they're right
That's
or
because
wrong,
it's a
just
dumb
saying.
argument. Who are you to assume that another woman's choices aren't autonomous? The mere assumption of that is actually quite anti-feminist of you. This is the female version of Sneeko calling everyone who disagrees with him a bot. You're accusing grown women of being incapable of coming to their own autonomous conclusions. That means you're doing the exact thing that you constantly accuse men of doing to you. Maybe some women like traditional gender roles. That's cool. Let them do their thing just like you're allowed to do yours. I'm the most
Yeah.
masculine woman I've ever met. I should be the first in line to be championing the end of traditional gender roles. But I'm not like this because I'm resisting the patriarchy. This is just a part of how I am. I like buying stocks, playing with boobs.
She's one of you, chat. She's one of you.
I'm just a chill guy. Wop.
Just a chill guy. Oh, babes. See, I like her. She's cool.
Women against porn. Except in today's terms, it means wet ass put. With modern feminism currently preaching sexual liberation, it may be surprising to learn that at one point it was the complete opposite. And then
That is crazy to me. That used to be a thing. This looks like a photo from the 70s? Yeah, I think this is from saying, look, there's black women here too. And they're saying we're fighting against pornography, and now it's the complete opposite. The 60s? Well, at any rate, it's pretty close, but now it's the complete opposite. Now everybody says that everyone should be liberated and sexually liberated and this and this and this. Yeah, feminists will destroy and go after models who post for Playboys. And now that is so tame in comparison. Like, Playboy, magazines are so tame in comparison to frickin' OnlyFans and Fansly. That's insane.
1970s anti-pornography was a growing part of feminism. And when you think about it, it actually makes perfect sense because it's consistent with the core values of feminism.
Yeah, and porn does hurt women. Like, Pornhub got into a lot of trouble a few years back, and nothing happened to them because they have an insane amount of money and nobody cares. Because the end product is that people want corn. Yeah. I'm sorry, we live in a fucked up world. I don't like dooming and glooming and stuff, but she's got a really good point. People just want to beat their meat.
To demonize the objectification of women and stop the fetishization of sexual violence against them. We know that porn is overwhelmingly aggressive towards women.
Yes.
We also know that consumers are more likely to commit acts of sexual violence.
there is an entire corn industry, or like a corn company that is aimed at creating corn for women and men, but mostly to stand against the bad corn industry of aggressive corn. Like, I don't know how to say this without like going into explicit detail, but it's some sort of Canadian company, and it's really like vanilla and soft, and people apparently don't like it that much because it's not hardcore enough. Because that's not what people want, apparently. Yeah.
Less likely to intervene if they witness an assault, and more likely to objectify and dehumanize women. Corn is seriously bad for both genders, but especially women. So to see the feminist movement glorify platforms like OnlyFans and other adult content feels like a complete slap in the face. How can you possibly complain about how oppressive it is to be
intimate? Yeah,
and then objectify yourself for profit? I don't understand how modern feminists have come to this conclusion. Actually, that's a lie. I do understand. I completely understand, because it would go against the sexual liberation movement. It goes against the sex positivity narrative. But one honest look at the statistics and it's blatantly clear. There's nothing liberating or positive about this industry. So what happened? Why did the anti-corn feminist protests stop? This article explains it perfectly. Anti-corn feminists were labeled sex negative in an era of feminism that was heavily influenced by liberalism. Individual choices as opposed to mass liberation.
And what's crazy to me about all of this is that the massive corporations that benefit from these women are abusing and using women in that way for massive profit margins. And there are so many cases of those corn stars, women and men, basically being paid dirt, like basically dirt. And there's people who are like, yes, this is great. We love corpos and sucking their dicks. It's like, at least with OnlyFans, you could argue that at least it's some sort of like homegrown situation, even though you are still under the umbrella of working for a company. Like, Pornhub has no excuses, man. They have horrible practices. And nobody cares because at the end of the day, people consume the product. They don't want to think about the end result. They just want their, their slurping, glurping, slop consumo.
Came the forerunning feminist agenda. Yeah. If that doesn't perfectly encapsulate the modern feminist movement, I don't know what does. The current movement wants all the ideals of feminism without having to sacrifice anything for it. The movement doesn't want to give up porn. It doesn't want to give up casual sex. That would be infringing on my personal freedoms. But maybe
at the end of the day, I think that's the biggest issue. You can fight for your right as a woman to do what you want and still acknowledge what is inherently bad for you and is gonna hurt you. We are always gonna be hurting ourselves in that sense. The issue is that the movement turned from women's rights to women can do no wrong even if the things they do are hurting themselves. You can't criticize porn as a woman or criticize Fansly or OnlyFans and say, like, hey, this probably isn't going to work out amazingly in the long run. It might damage the youth and people growing up like 30 to 40 years from now as a consequence of what's happening now. It just has a complete lack of forethought, and you can say it every time you argue with someone like that online. Like a feminist or like a male feminist or a female feminist. They will bend over absolutely fucking backwards and do insane mental gymnastics to either justify another woman doing something objectively wrong or blame men for something wrong in their life that men have nothing to do with. Like normal everyday dudes. Like, what are we talking about? Like just a normal dude is like at fault for everything? No.
True liberation requires some personal sacrifice of those beloved freedoms. You can't eat a pound of cake every day and expect to lose weight. Your goals require a sacrifice. The issue of equal pay is another primary subject that feminists bring up. It's also probably the #1 most misrepresented topic in feminism. The gender pay gap does not exist because of the patriarchy oppressing women.
Thank you. The gender pay gap does not exist in the way feminists present it now. Because if it did, all employers would hire exclusively women to save on costs. Everyone knows this. It's so obvious. But saying it makes feminists schizo out. I don't get it. I genuinely don't. You think the corporals wouldn't, like, take that in a heartbeat and be like, all right, women get paid 65% less or whatever the statistic is? We're gonna do that, and we're gonna hire all women.
The pay gap only exists because women are more likely to choose lower paying jobs. If you compare a man and a woman working at the same place, in the same position, with the same amount of experience, working the same amount of hours, the pay is exactly the same. But when you compare the average income of men versus women, there's obviously going to be a gap. This is because men choose careers like car mechanics and truck driving, whereas women choose careers like teaching and nursing. A quick comparison of these incomes, and it's easy to see why there's a pay gap.
There's no STEM, there's no women in STEM. Like, I saw I think it was a picture of a woman graduating at an IT university, like at the top of her class, and she's surrounded by men. Like, is it her fault? No, there's just no women in there.
Not misogyny that creates
I'm not
this
even gonna
gap,
open the can of worms with that
Women
shit.
have all the freedom in the world to go be an automotive mechanic, just like men can become teachers, but that's not typically what each gender wants to do.
Yes, and there's hardly ever any male nurses. I see a doctor every once in a while, and when I see a male nurse, I'm like, holy shit, like, you're like a fucking unicorn. I never see male nurses.
Average. So from the outside,
It's
when you show
rare.
the statistic of the gender pay gap, everyone's jaw drops and jumps to conclusions about sexism. But if you just look a little deeper, it's easy to see why it's there. If you're a woman and you're unhappy with your salary as a teacher, go be a truck driver. It is actually that simple. Something I can't stand about the feminist movement, and really many other modern movements, is how evasive they are to taking responsibility. If you're not happy with your pay, change jobs. You don't have to make it a political movement. You don't have to find someone to blame. You can just do something to change your situation.
I tried to learn coding because I dropped out and I also didn't have a job, and one of my friends was like, oh yeah, just get into coding. It's hard. I can't do it. It's not my brain can't do it. I tried. I bought a course. I tried. Even the basic fucking, like, my brain exploded. I genuinely couldn't understand it. I was like, I think my brain is just not suited for this. I'm retarded. Like, I can't do it. It's not my fault. I genuinely thought I could give it a shot. I bought a class. I did a course. I even had like a whole little Discord. This was like back in like 2018. I joined the Discord and I genuinely gave it a good old college try and I couldn't do it. Sorry, some people can't paint. Some people can do coding. Some people are suited for it. There are women that can code. It's just rare. Like...
Can't really talk about feminism without also talking about the red pill manosphere space. This is because they respond to one another culturally. The red pill purports that they have the solutions to these modern feminist problems. Spoiler alert, they don't. The red pill solution is extremely unrealistic for the majority of both men and women. The red pill
Hold on, I'm a
has
little
this idea that women need to just skip college and go back to being housewives, except
why is the bald man always right somehow? Karens and incels cause all of the world's problems. The Karens create the incels. The incels don't talk to women and then develop insane worldviews about women. No, women shouldn't just be housewives. And I have no idea how the hell you would even make that work in 2025. You need two incomes at this rate. If we magically explode, the economy gets like fucking like if I could wave a magic wand and change this, and then all of a sudden, like, you could live and buy a house on one income, I'd be like, damn, that's poggers. But what would happen to all the women who are like, oh, well, maybe do I have to work? Like, I don't know what would happen. Maybe some would be like, oh, that's cool, I want to do that. And then some men would be like, oh, all right, well, you can go work and I'll stay. Like, I think just people having a choice is great. If you want to, then awesome.
that most of the men saying this would never be able to afford that lifestyle.
Is that Andrew Tate? Fucking with those bug eyes. Is that who that is she's drawing?
Homie, you don't even have the career to be able to pay for the lifestyle of the woman that you want. The red pill will blame women for failing to fulfill their feminine roles without even recognizing that as men, they're failing just as badly at fulfilling their masculine ones. I really don't think that the red pill's idea of expecting men to be able to afford supporting an entire family on their one income is realistic at all. I think in theory, the traditional family dynamic is a great idea and would make very happy, healthy relationships. But in modern times, less than 1/4 of men will ever be financially capable of achieving such a feat. In today's economy, the trad lifestyle is reserved for only the most prosperous men. But
one caveat to this. I have an anecdotal experience. This is a little anecdotal story. I noticed when I worked in an office filled with women that a year or two after someone had a baby, a lot of the times they would quit and stay at home. And it wasn't because, like, the husband was super rich or whatever. They were just, average Joes like me working. Like, you're just doing your job. You're just middle class or whatever. They always said it was because the cost of the daycare was so insanely high that they couldn't justify working and the stress it brought them. It was like they would work 40 hours a week, but at the end of the month, their daycare bill was like 90% of their monthly income, like their paycheck alone. Like for that woman, not the man, the woman, like her paycheck that they would work at their job would just go to 90% and then 10% was like extra income. And they decided they'd rather stay at home than do that. Because it's not worth the stress. You still have to drive to work, like pack your lunch and blah, 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 and like worry about your kids. Like, again, I don't have kids, so I don't like understand like the mental, but like when they would talk to me, and this is how I basically understood normie women at the time when I worked, is that it's not worth the stress. Like, you'd rather just stay at home at that point. Now, I don't know if their husbands had to go and get a second job to sustain their family, or if they found work from home jobs, or maybe they got on government assistance. I don't know. But the point is that a lot of times that just couldn't work, and it's because it wasn't really helping them.
Yet the red pill preaches it like it's the majority solution. Pew Research shows in 2022, only 23% of households had the husband as the sole provider of income. That means 77% of women were contributing to household income. Most guys just aren't out here making enough money to support himself, a woman, and kids.
Some people can't even afford to support themselves alone. That's the problem.
And in today's economy, I would say that's pretty understandable.
Yeah,
what I don't see the red pill talking about is how a lot of women would love to adopt the traditional lifestyle, but there's just not enough prosperous men to go around. Given an alternative, many women might very well choose to be a housewife. Feminism might be the only movement that can get away with constantly complaining about how oppressive it is to be objectified and then simultaneously objectify themselves. The problem is that this movement wants all the benefits of feminism without any of its consequences. Say you want equality until you realize that means splitting the bills, unclogging the toilet, and having to kill the spider.
Oh my god, honestly, that shit fucking sucks, bro. Killing a spider!
In relationships, it's common for the financial theory of the woman to be everything he makes is ours and everything I make is mine, rather than both partners contributing equally, which is—
And that also raises, like, another question. Does that contribute to, like, bad relationships at the end of the day? Like, what if you're living in, like, in a space where it's like, I earned this, and I earned this, and, like, we have a combined income, and we've been living for a while, and you start having to split things evenly down the, like, middle? It's like, what if I worked more? Or what if my career pays more, but I'm more stressed? Then you're starting to get into, like, what is it called? Like, trying to equate feelings which aren't quantified into money or, like, time. Yeah, it's a competition. Yeah, there just comes a competition. And it can lead to, like, relationship issues at the end of the day.
What feminism claims to want to do. There's a book called Sexual Utopia and Power by Roger Devlin that sums this up perfectly. The modern woman wants all the benefits of a traditional marriage but is unwilling to pay the costs. She wants a man to marry her without her having to marry the man. Some feminists are even demanding that there be quotas for women to be in executive positions, but they never talk about there being quotas for women in bricklaying. It's clear that modern
Yeah, nobody wants to climb a skyscraper and install a window as a woman. Bro, someone has to do it. Like, you know those people that work in the sky highs? What are they fucking called? You know what I'm saying? I'm having a fucking brain fart. Yeah, skyscraper. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah, skyrise, dude, I'm fucking cooked. A skyscraper, and they install the windows, and they have to hang there and like suspension and like clean the windows too. Yeah, when you bust screw up. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's fucking scary.
Feminism wants all the benefits
Sky
of something
high,
without
just
any
shut
of its
up.
sacrifice. Let's be very clear. That is not equality. That's privilege.
True! I am privileged. What? I'm very privileged. What are you talking about? Thank you, Feminism. That was a great video. I like that. That was a yapperific video. Go check out Finding Sky. Her girlfriend's really hot too, if you want to Google her. Oh god. My privilege is off the charts. Yep. White-skinned woman.